It's 17th of July 24, and I'm talking about Labour's loveless landslide election where they won the 100% majority with only percent of the vote. They get less votes than Jeremy Corbyn in 2019, and that's what Keir always uses as a reference point with Labour's lowest moment. For live, it's 17th of July 24. I'm talking about Labour's loveless landslide. And as I say, Corbyn in 2019 votes, and that's what Keir always uses as a reference point, as if we all think, oh yes, Labour were terrible then. Like when you think back 2017, for some reason, I mean, Corbyn in 2017 got 3 million votes more than Keir, and he got one of the highest votes ever in a UK election. It was just that Theresa May get even more. I mean, Corbyn get 40%, Theresa May get 43%. I think she was the highest since John Major. And I guess people turned out to keep Corbyn out, but people also turned up to put Corbyn in. So that was a mysterious election, 2017. That was when the red wall was still with Labour. And I noticed the whole red walls went back to Labour, even though their towns have changed, especially the last 2 or 3 years. And it just doesn't make sense at all. Apart from Lee Anderson, is it, and Ashworth or whatever, Ashfield. That was the only one of the 19 red wall seats that went back to that stayed Tory, and it doesn't make any sense really. But I'm wondering, when you look at those seats and you look at the North East and that, I noticed that I'm going to try and share something here. Let's see. Share. What do I want to share? I want to share the docs. No, I don't want to share that. I want to share that. Yeah, share. Alright, here we go. I didn't want to share. Yeah, well, just looking. I'm still finding it hard to find any stats here, but Keir less votes than Corbyn 2019. In fact, I'll put for impact, put 600k less votes. So it was total landslide, and that tells you basically that we don't have it. We're very undemocratic because that's ridiculous. You got 34% of the votes, which is one of the lowest ever. I think Harold Wilson got that around about in 1974, but then the Tories got about 33%, so that was nearly a hung parliament. This time, Keir's, the turnout was 60%, very low. I think it was 60%. Very low, one of the lowest ever, I think. Last time that happened, I think it was around about 2001 or 2005 under Blair. And what Blair done is he got Prescott to sort of investigate it. And he decided not to change anything because it suits both Labour and Tory for us to be undemocratic, because it means it's either one or the other that gets full power, full control, really. We really need to, as I've said, we really need to go to the Swiss electoral system, which is the nearest to direct democracy. It's the only democracy in the world, in my opinion. So it baffles me how it's never top of the UN's index of democracies, or whoever makes that index. You know, nobody else has got to see as much democracy as them. Yeah, so the turnout was very low, as I say, Prescott. That's why they came up with mayors and stuff like that, and regional mayors and things. But they didn't do anything to change Westminster, I noticed. And so Nigel Farage says he's going to make a big fuss about PR. I really hope he does, you know. Last time, 2011, I voted for PR because I think everyone's vote should count, even if it means it's a shambles of a government. Everyone's vote's got to count. It's got to have meaning. So the turnout was very low. Tory went from like 43% of the vote share to 24%. And I'm guessing they're probably happy with that. They probably think they've done better than what they expected, but that's shocking, you know. Labour went from 33% to 34%, I think. So they basically stayed the same. But I think what actually happened to Labour is maybe they get a few Lib Dems, hardly any Tories from what I've seen. It's hard to find the info as usual. The democratic data, which should be easy to find and useful, but say a few Lib Dems went or whatever. I think they lost a lot to the Greens, possibly, and they lost a lot because of Palestine. They lost a lot to independents, and apparently we've got 5 independents this election, or is it 6? Because Corbyn's one as well. Can't remember. But there's only been 8 independents ever, and 5 of them in this parliament, and 4 of them represent a community, really. And I think that's how it's going to go now. It was always going to go. This time it's under the guise of Palestine, but really it's going to go, because we saw that in Blackburn where George Galloway had Craig Murray was standing there for the Workers' Party, quote, who Palestine is the main thing that George has got, and he's got, I would say, I don't know what percent of his support comes from one community, but say 80%. But in that community of Blackburn, they put up their own candidate who the community can relate to. And Craig Murray said they had a meeting to sort out. They didn't want the two of them standing because it would split the vote. In the end, it didn't matter because the authentic guy, he got elected for his community. And that's how George is going to go as well. He's going to get kicked out eventually, or his main community support's just going to dump him. I mean, George is against mass MA, you know, so they'll not like that about him, but they'll just dump him because they'll just do identity politics anyway. I mean, we're going to have 2 main branches, herded cat branches, one for that sort of thing, and then another one for the matter of lives. And that's going to be another herded cat group that can't agree with anything. Although they'll agree with it, they'll want to put the new minority, who were the old majority, they'll want to vote against them. So, yeah, so they'll agree on things to vote against the old majority. That's how it's going to work out, I think. But anyway, this Labour thing, yeah, they didn't make any growth at all, really. And I think that they probably lost the Greens as well. For some with communities who are new here, and they see Palestine as a sort of ego thing, maybe. Because I mean by that, I don't think they care much about Palestine at all. It's a sort of ego thing. It's not even to do with there. It's to do how they feel because they've left their ancestral places, which they don't wish to return to holidays. But at the time, they see it an anti-majority. So, snip, really, that sort of thing, to do with ego. Because I think a lot of countries around the world, the reason they're not desirable, even though they're beautiful and warm, which is the only reason people should be moving. People should be moving to beautiful, warm places, but it seems that in a way it's the other way around. That's the only thing people should be moving. But a lot of these beautiful warm places, or most of them, probably all of them, seem to be ego-driven, male ego, shooting guns in the air, that sort of thing. Firecrackers, fireworks from your hand, flares, that sort of thing. Don't bother with traffic lights, health and safety and that. Male ego, out of control. To me, that's why these places don't seem to be able to be desirable societies to the people who live there. Why was I talking about that anyway? Anyway, I was talking about the Greens. Yeah, I've wondered about the Greens. Yeah, at the moment, they're very big in Palestine, which is fair enough. I've got total sympathy for that. But I think in some areas, they were the only candidate that our community felt they wanted to vote for, rather than Labour, which they've been voting for benefits and immigration, open border basically. But this time, well, Greens are even more open border than that. So they voted Green this time, but if you look at a Green conference or a Green protest, it looks like a safe space for the current majority, you know. And Alex Salmond pointed that out, or Alba pointed that out in Scotland, where the Greens complained about some candidate that Alba had put up in Glasgow. They said it was stoking tensions, I think because he's from his heritage is from South Asia, and he's from the H side, and he's maybe done one or two tweets, and the Greens were saying for the M side, it was stoking tensions a bit. I don't know where you're on the Twitter or whatever. I mean, it's going to happen anyway. So, I mean, even Humza had it with that nursery in Dundee, which the nursery settled, but they said cause of distress, they didn't want to take it. They refuted what he'd said, but they didn't want to. They just settled because they were so stressed out or whatever. But we're going to get that all the time now. That's just one of the. We've got the whole mix from the bottom half of the UN index to do with women's rights and that, you know. We've got brought in the whole mix. So we're going to be even worse than these countries of origin, basically, I think, in terms of anarchy. Yeah, so they feel they had no one to vote for apart from the Greens this time because they didn't have an identity candidate of their own. So I think them went for Greens, especially concentrated areas like in London. So the Greens get a boost. And also, I think, I've always wondered why ladies, early 20s, don't support the Greens other than Labour, you know. I could see it maybe about Blair, but even back then I thought, why aren't they supporting the Greens? You know, Glastonbury, why aren't they all supporting the Greens rather than Corbyn or whatever? But it looks like some of them have finally went that way, especially around Bristol and stuff. And I think there was a place in Norfolk that went Green as well, which is a bit strange. I don't know what the story is about that, but yeah, I've always wondered why young women, native women, haven't won, because they're the ultra nice party, you know. So yeah, so I think Labour probably lost some of them. So they gained from somewhere, I don't know where, but they didn't gain very much, Labour. So Keir's pretty loveless, and even though it's a landslide, it feels really shallow, you know. That's what people are saying. It's like it's wide but shallow. And when you look at a lot of the seats, a lot of the traditional Labour seats, Reform done very well, you know, the northeast of England and that. I mean, I don't think any of the Red Wall should have went back to Labour. I don't know what they're doing, but it was low turnout. Reform done pretty well in them, better than the Tories mostly. A lot of them came second. Apparently, Reform came second in 98 seats, but Labour didn't. They were probably down in most of these seats, but because so few turned out, they still get landslides even there. So nobody's feeling like it's we love Keir. I think he's a very strange guy. I don't think anyone hates him more than his own cabinet because he makes ruthless decisions, but then he changes his mind. I mean, they're saying he's strong in that, but he wasn't strong with Diane Abbott, was he? He bottled it in the end. And then he done away with that Wales guy who I don't like. But he done away with him after he didn't have a chance to, after the election was called, so he couldn't stand as a Labour candidate. I don't think I've ever heard that been done before, where an MP basically gets whacked while they're the standing MP, just as an election is called. I don't think I've heard anything like that before. So Keir waited until the election was called before he got rid of him. And the other lady who's, I think of, probably likes a country in South Asia. She was standing somewhere, Shania or whatever. She was maybe a Corbyn or whatever. She stood anyway, and she nearly won the seat against the Labour candidate. He done the same to her, which was ruthless as well. He done the same to Diane Abbott, but then he bottled it and let her back in, which I think he'll regret. And he had to pay homage to her as a mother of the house, and it was a bit grimacing. He didn't really say anything apart from, he didn't praise her like the way Rishi Sunak did. He gave a lot of praise to her, saying that she was the first this, the first that. I think Keir was only one sentence, basically. Very short sentence. No wonder, because and he even get elected, because I was thinking all these people vote for Keir. Say stick to Corbyn beliefs, then he them all, including Brexit, which he was in charge of policy 2019 election, which commentators say that's why Labour did so badly, because they wanted a second referendum, and that was Keir's policy. So I've got no hope about Keir at all, and he's put about 35 bills through, which apparently is a lot, but I don't know. Why aren't they putting lots of bills through all the time? I mean, Parliament should be there 24/7, 365, because we shouldn't. Most of the time they're on holiday. They're only there about 32 weeks a year. They get more holidays than year 3 students or primary school, secondary school. Up in Scotland, holiday to get the English school summer holidays and the Scottish ones, So, yeah, they're on holiday all the time. So that's what governments are meant to do. And I think he's doing this because Tony Blair's advising him a lot. I think Tony says he regrets not doing more. He said that when he left. He regrets not doing more. And also he regrets the first term that he'd done very little because they were too scared, basically. But now Tony thinks the other way around. He thinks get lots of things done straight away so that you get time to put nice things in for the next election, when the next election comes round. So get all the bad things or whatever done straight away. So I think that's what Tony said, and that's what he's doing. Keir's doing, I agree with all the green energy stuff, but that's a no-brainer, really. I mean, Tories were basically holding that back because of NIMBYs, basically. So that's I don't even give them respect for that, because it was stupid what the Tories done. It was Cameron, especially. He told them to get rid of the green crap, and he stopped building solar and wind stuff on land. I mean, you should just listen to Dale Vince for energy policy, basically. We could probably be green already if it wasn't for all the holding up. In Scotland, we're totally green for electricity now, although gas is the main form of home and business energy. And then you've got petrol and all that for cars. I don't know what percentage that is, but yeah, we're way behind where we could be. But yeah, I'm just been looking for info on this, So the turnout 59.9%, one of the lowest levels. What they should do is they should have an investigation, and they should recommend PR and referendums, quarterly referendums, like the Swiss democracy. And Nigel has mentioned that. I don't know if he's as big a fan as me, but yeah. But I don't think Keir will resist all that. So yeah, let's see, 4 million registered to vote. Yeah, people vote get 97 million, like Jeremy Corbyn in 2019, which Keir refers as a low point. They get 10.3 million. You know, I mean, the Tory vote just crashed. They either didn't turn out or they voted reform, basically. Like 14% voted reform or something. 6.8 million only this time. I mean, the last time it was about, I don't know, 11 million or something, or 12 million. And then Ed Davey, the Lib Dems, get 3.5 million. Reform get 4 million, I think 5 seats, and Ed Davey get 3.5 and 72 seats. So it just shows you how warped the electoral system is. And ironically, the Lib Dems want PR, but we'll see if they really want it now. I'm guessing they don't. Yeah, so it's very disappointing for, I think, for women's rights and LGBT rights long term. At some point, women will understand what I mean and become hysterical about the way the country's going, especially under the left. But it's very shallow, and in reality, I think it's a bit of a Pyrrhic victory for the Labour, really, and it could be the end. I'm not even sure that they'll make it to for the next 5 years because it's so shallow. I don't think their MPs in cabinet like Keir. Don't think they have faith in him. He changes his mind. He keeps chasing, I don't know, the centre right or whatever. But like all Western countries, because of what's happening to us over the last 75 years, we're going to go very, very right, apart from the Social Democrat Party, which people might start. And this is a problem. We haven't got a party on the left to vote on this one issue, this single issue that we should be voting on, because we're heading for anarchy. And as Rafi Heidelmanku says, it's the greatest disaster ever, probably, for Britain, which I totally agree with. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's one issue. It's the only issue we should be voting on. Nothing else matters. We're heading for anarchy. It's going to be bad for everyone. Women are going to be hysterical. I say to women, you should start voting right already. Next by-election, next council by-election, vote Tory or for the right. If you find it too hard to vote right, like Reform or whatever, vote Tory at least, because then you're showing that you're not happy. Because what you usually do is you jump from Labour to SNP or vice versa, or maybe the Lib Dems or Greens. This isn't. All of them are open border parties. You've got to let them know that you're scared. In the case of women hysterical, you've got to vote Tory. I know that might be hard for you mentally, but you're actually doing it for yourself and your granddaughters, great-granddaughters, because you've got to think, is the new Britain, do you think it's going to work? To which I think the answer is no. I think most sensible people think that. So, yeah, women will be hysterical. Vote Tory at least as a protest vote to show you that you're unhappy. Yeah, we're doomed already. It's too late already. As Nick said, about 15, 10 years ago was the last chance, especially the last 2 or 3 years. We just get the immigration figures in for England 2 days ago or something. I think it was 1.1 new people, mostly from outside the EU. And we're not talking about Americans, really. A handful of Americans, probably. So that's about the third year in a row we've had over 1 million. As Nigel says, 1 in 30 people walking around came within the year 21 or 22. And now you can add 23 to that. It's probably like 1 in 25 now or something. So that's where your kids are going to school now. And there does seem a bit of a trend. I thought I saw something where 16-year-olds, quite a big more than expected, would vote reform. And I wonder if that's because they're at school and they're basically at the front line of the new change and they can see it for themselves, how it's changing. And maybe that's why they're voting reform, because the young are expected to be crazy lefties, basically, you know. So I think what's going to happen with the young is we're still going to have the crazy lefties as a majority, but you're going to have a big lot now, I think. I don't really vote Tory, vote reform, or even further right, probably, as we're seeing in Ireland at the moment with the way it's changing. But Ireland's still voting the same way, so they'll still get the same outcome, you know. I'll talk about France in another video. So just to wrap up about this one, it was a lovely landslide. I'm not sure they'll last the 5 years. I think the MPs in Cabinet all want Keir out for a start. But I think once the MP by-elections come up, Labour are going to get crushed. And it might be in a way that they can't see a way back. Because I think one this time was ridiculous, you know, even though it was Mandelson's seat. And that's how ridiculous it used to be. Mandelson was the MP at the pool. I mean, what connection is there, you know? Yeah, I think it could still be the end of Labour, especially when people see how they're going to handle the great change. What's going to happen is, well, they've got a border force, we should have been there already, plus we should have been sending people to a country that wants a beautiful warm country that wants newcomers. The question is, why do people not want to go to that country? What is it that feels bad about that? But that's all forgotten now. We're just getting the border force thing, which should have been in place already. Because I think what Keir wants to do, he wants to do away with the high vis changing, you know, the people coming across to Dover, that's a high vis. He wants it all to be hidden again. So illegals hidden. And then, but he wants to many more legals. I mean, I don't know. He may even be doubling them, like 2 million a year. So he wants to do that. Once that happens, the natives have voted for him, especially Red Wall and that. They're going to turn them against him. So, yeah, even though he said that thing about Bangladesh, you know, which was very true, it's the only true thing I think he said, the only thing I could relate to. It was ironic. He said, I suppose he felt because it's such a ridiculous situation that even he had to admit it. But of course, he get backlash from it from Londoners who like that country very much but don't want to live there. So he may have lost seats because of that. And he himself, Keir, he lost about 7,000 voters in his own election. He went down, he had about like 26,000 majority. It was down to about 17,000 this time. I don't know why people were voting for him. The Workers' Party was standing there. It was Andrew Feinstein, who's a South African, very, very left, but not identity. For the community there, he wouldn't be the identity candidate. I don't know if there probably was an identity candidate there that they maybe voted for. I thought Spire might put a candidate up, but they didn't. Against Osama Bagun. But they didn't. They will in the future, though, at some point. All these groupings are going to go identity. You know, that's the way it's going to go. But like Northern Ireland times 100, and probably more anarchic. But even Northern Ireland, one side wanted peace and the other side didn't. So it wasn't two different sides. You only had one side that was voting identity. The other side had no choice, really. And that's why I'm talking about the nationalist side, really, who wanted peace. Yeah, so that's my thoughts. Like I said, Keir, even he get less votes this time. It's pretty loveless. Basically, we're all just waiting. Even Nicola Sturgeon was saying she doesn't think Labour she says they'll turn against pretty soon. Once they see he can't juggle the balls he wants to juggle, you know what I mean? He wants to. I mean, they've definitely lost the religious community that they're associated with, on the terms of they like a flag, of a faraway flag. I think they've lost them for good. That was always going to happen anyway. Labour were just a Trojan party there for benefits and open borders. But now they're just going to go ahead. They've seen that they can do it. They nearly get Bradford as well. They got Bristol. Seen Bristol. And those Labour MPs were embarrassing. They lost their seats, Jonathan Ashworth and Thingham Debonair. They were so entitled. And it was ironic. They were trying to strike out that community members of a certain community that they've always enabled and deflected and called people the R word who have any anxiety about the way the country's changing. They've always been there to call it the R word, but they themselves were using dodgy language about these people's getting elected, you know. Yeah, they've been really embarrassing, really let themselves down. And it was good to see them get beat, but that'll happen to all of them. And nearly happened to Jess Phillips as well. I've heard that Jordan guy on not the Andrew Marsh show, and he's really a good communicator. He says he thought Jess was going to shake his hand and that. He didn't know she was going to make a speech like that. And, so it was a bit funny, a bit amusing, you know. Yeah, I think he's got cerebral palsy or something. I don't know. She's going on about men. She's supposed to tell it like it is, but she didn't, obviously. She's too scared. And she is a joke of an MP anyway. I'm really glad. And she was going on about the end. Thing the swing seats MPs work harder. But that's a bit ironic because she had a safe seat. I don't know. She had a majority of like 20,000 or something. I think it was Claire Short's old seat. It was an old traditional Labour place, but she can forget it now. She'll probably get kicked out in the next election by an identity candidate standing against her, probably a man. She might not even want to stand because of the stress, but she's always been there to call people the R word and that, and she's just going on about the swing seats. MPs work harder, you know. She thought she was going to be there till she was 80. But that's going to happen to them all, basically, especially the Labour ones. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. If you're worried, if you're anxious, but like I say, women will be hysterical at some point. Start voting Tory, at least as a protest vote. Vote for the right, preferably, or Social Democrat Party. If you look at their policy on this subject, it's not hard enough, but it should be. We need a full pause, basically, and we'll need to look at things after that, even. Because long term, you're not talking about sending people to prison or anything like that. You know, you're pointing out how beautiful, warm countries are, you know, and giving all the help that can be done. Although we've done that in the past, and it's not really got us anywhere, you know. Yeah, because any society can be as desirable as Britain, you know, and they could be beautiful, warm countries, you know. It should be. Corbyn's granddaughter should be saying to Jeremy, "That's me going to the University of Lagos or the University of Karachi to study. I'm going to hang around after it so that I get citizenship in hopes that I can live there forever." And Jeremy should be absolutely, that's fantastic. My granddaughter's going to become a Nigerian citizen. It's a beautiful, warm place, flourishing country, you know. But that doesn't seem to be the way. I'm not sure Jeremy would react like that. But anyway, that's the point I'm making. So if you're worried about it, especially women, if you're worried about women's rights, LGBT plus and that, you need to vote Tory as a protest vote, or for the right, preferably, or Social Democrat Party, who are the patriotic Labour Party, basically. Okay, that's it all over for now.